It is my pleasure to introduce to the stage Petr Kadlec, who is joining us from Saudi Aramco. And Petr is a chief data scientist at Saudi Aramco. He will be talking to us today about unleashing the potential of AI in industry today and tomorrow. With over 15 years of experience, Petr specializes in guiding companies through large-scale and complex digital transformations. With experience in both AI and in Agile, he's worked with numerous large organizations to transform operations and supply chains. It is my pleasure to introduce to the stage Petr Kadlec.
Thank you very much for the kind intro. And I must say I love this spot after lunch. The reason I love it is because if I see you falling asleep, then I can play on full stomachs and not my boring talk. But anyway, let's get started. My name is Petr Kadlec. I work with Saudi Aramco, where I'm driving some of our largest digital transformation projects and programs. My talk will be focused on how do we make sense of all these great technologies that we are hearing and seeing here today in a business and industrial setting. There are special challenges that we are facing that I'll outline to you. My talk will be relatively generic and general, so it can be, what I will be describing can be applied across industries and even across different functions in an organization, all the way from marketing, HR, to operations and supply chain across companies. So let's get started. But before I start, I want to talk about a couple of challenges that we are facing today, just to set the scene and so that you understand where I'm coming from when I'm describing our approach. So the first challenge we need to talk about are complex business processes. Business processes are there, whether we like it or not. Large and small organizations use business processes to get activities and tasks done in an organized, structured, and documented way. Business processes have been around for a very long time, and as such, in many organizations, it has developed in a very specific set of tasks, often involving many different people from many departments, even from many business units, business lines, and so on. So the reason we need to talk about business processes is because when we are deploying AI or digital transformation solutions in an organization, we will inevitably have to tackle business processes. We'll need to understand what's going on and how do we improve it, which I will be talking about later today. Let me just give you, for a better illustration, let me give you an example of a simple, complex business problem or process, if there's such a thing. Let's take, for example, invoice processing. Every organization, every company is processing invoices. And you would think that it's something very simple. You receive an invoice, you check that you receive the goods or the services, you approve the invoice, you pay the invoice, and you are done. Well, not so much in the business reality. First of all, to start with, there's probably 10, 15 different channels or ways how you can receive an invoice. And believe it or not, archaic technologies like fax machines are still being used by suppliers to send you invoices. So here we are at a conference talking about large language models, and now AI is overtaking humanity, while in business settings, we often use technology still from 50 years ago. So now let me describe how does it continue. So you receive the invoice, it will land somewhere in the organization, then the invoice will need to find its way to the right person who can actually process it. Then that person will need to match it with a contract or a purchase order. Then you will need to find the person who actually ordered the goods. Then you need to find the person who received the goods. Then you need to find the person who can approve that the goods were received. Then you need to find the people who can approve the payment. And depending on the value of the invoice, this can go all the way through the chain of the organization. Once you have done this, you pass it on treasury or finance, who will need to do a lot of legal check, who will need to do a lot of tax implication checks before the payment gets out. And during this time, every 2 days, you are receiving a phone call from the supplier asking when is he getting his money in his account, or her. So this is the business reality, and this is the complexity of business processes that we need to understand and have to deal with. So let's move on to the next challenge, which is somewhat related to this one. Because the business processes involve so specific activities and tasks, people will be focused on their task. And when you are developing a new digital solution, when you're deploying an AI, you need to absolutely make sure that it fits into what people are doing today. Because as soon as you ask people to copy and paste data from one table to another into your solution, you will very likely lose them, and the solution will fall apart. It doesn't matter how good the AI, how good the solution is. So you really need to focus on this to make sure that you understand what people are doing today, and that you build your solution around what people are doing today in the particular problem or process that you are addressing. This has another implication, which is integrations with existing systems. Again, because you can't ask people to move data that is already there in other systems, copy and paste, or log in somewhere else to check something in SAP, for example. You need to integrate your digital solution with existing core systems. And this brings also a couple of implications. First of all, there's the technical work, so you need to build the APIs, you need to make sure it's connected, you need to make sure it's stable. But there's also big cybersecurity and security implication, because in today's business world, nobody from IT or from information security will open a core system for you to attach your solution there without checking that your solution is absolutely safe from a cybersecurity perspective, that it's being maintained, and that it works the way it should be working. So you need to keep this in mind as well, and this takes time. It can be done, but it takes time. So these are the first two challenges, which can be tackled, but like I said, it takes time. Now, the third challenge is not helping us, because there's also, from the business, from management, there's big expectations on delivering value and to deliver it very, very fast. Ever since OpenAI released ChatGPT in the wild, every single executive and senior management member has heard about what AI can do and how quickly and easily it can be done. So this has further increased the expectations that are there. So thank you very much for this OpenAI. But now seriously, the digital technologies are there, of course, to help to make our life easier, to deliver value, and to deliver it very fast, faster than the previous technologies. So we need to take this into account, that we are using technologies to bring value for businesses and for the industry. So now, how do we tackle this? Of course, we are an organization, so we have a process for this. Now, we have, at a high level, we have a 3-step process. We start with the ideation step. What does this mean? Normally, when you start building a digital solution or an AI solution for a business, you get a problem statement. You want to improve something, you want to automate a process, you want to generate extra revenue, you want to reduce costs, whatever, anything. Then you need to understand which of the business processes is this addressing. Where is it touching on in the organization? And you need to do a lot of exploration. You need to do a lot of ideation. And what you need for this, you need to find the right experts from the organization who work in the process, the subject matter experts. But also you need to find your future business users, because with your future business users, you need to design the solutions. You can't do it outside in a black box. You need to do it. It's absolutely important to do it with them. And therefore, there's one critical task in this first step, in the ideation step, which is to build a relationship, to build a rapport, to build a momentum with the subject matter experts and the business users, because you will need them along the way, as I'll be describing. So we do the ideation. The output from the ideation is typically a more refined idea or version of what you are trying to build, which can involve design of an MVP. It can involve the user experience design. It will also need to involve the data that you need to use for this, and so on. So then you can take it to the next stage, and you can start building the solution. Now here, of course, there's technical work to be done. You need to train your AI models, be it a forecasting model or be it a fine-tuning and a large language model, anything. And I think in general for this, there are tools and solutions out there that you can use. You just, as an organization, you need to find the solutions and the approaches that work for you. And I think you are good there. But there's another critical aspect that I was mentioning before. You need to make sure that you bring the business with you. So you need to use agile methodologies like Scrum, for example, and at least every 2 weeks have a sprint review and review what you have done, make sure that it makes sense for the business users. But you also need to be flexible. We have experiences and projects which were particularly complex, and there it wasn't by far enough to meet just every 2 weeks and review what we have done. We had to go on a much frequent cadence, and in the most intensive phase, for 2 or 3 months, we were doing 2 workshops a day, 2 workshops a week, 3 to 4 hours. That's how complex the situation was, how complex the business processes were, how difficult it was to design the new solutions. But we did it, and we managed to maintain the buy-in, the involvement of the business users, which helped us to make the solution successful at the end. So once you build your MVP, your first product, you need to deploy it, but you need to do more. You need to embed it into the business. It's more than just simply releasing the model, deploying it, and giving access to people. And here you really come to rely on the people, on the business that was going along with you during the journey. Because typically what we do, we select a couple of users that go through this journey. And these users, we'll call them power users or early adopters. These people from the business, they will understand every decision that has been made because the decision was made with them. There will be a lot of prioritizations to be done. So by bringing them along, they will know why certain decisions have been made. And these business users and the subject matter experts will help us to make sure that this solution gets scaled up in the department or in the business units or to the other users of that process. Because like I was mentioning, for example, the invoicing process, then can be easily 100, 150 people working on the same process. So of course, we are not taking 150 people along this way. We'll take a handful, which will be good trainers, which will be early adopters who will understand the technology, and they understand the business, and they will help us to embed it into the business. So the embed means deploy, and it means to do a business transformation. Because as part of the new solution, the new approach, you will also need to change the underlying business processes. You may skip a step, you may automate a step, you may add another step that adds value, and so on. So this is our approach today. Now, does this work? Yes, it does. Can it be better? Yes, it can be also better. I think it addresses quite well the first 2 challenges I was talking about, which is the business process complexity and making sure that you are building something that works for people, that fits into the business, that can be embedded. I think where we can do better is on the need for speed, because this process, depending on the complexity of the processes, the solution can take you somewhere between 3 to 4 to 8 months' time. And of course, there's a lot that can change in today's world, in the technology world, but also in the business world during 8 months' time, despite still using fax machines from 50 years ago. So looking into the future, what are we going to do? Well, what are we trying to do? Of course, we are also looking at large language model and AI technology. So we have recently trained our own corporate large language model, which we have trained on all our processes, on all our guidelines, on our reports, on our data sets. So this model will understand our organization. And on top of this model, we are going to build application. We are going to build apps. And one of the first apps will be, for example, to speed up the ideation process. Because like I was telling you, it's a very intensive process. You need to understand a lot of complexity. You need to get time from the business. And of course, the people most knowledgeable in the business are also the busiest people. So it's also challenging to get the time of the right people and to get enough time. So we are looking at this kind of technology to help us to get a head start and to make this ideation step much more smooth and efficient. But I would also like to stress out that we are not going to cut out the business completely, because we still need to, as long as there are people working along in the business process, we will need the business to be part of the design and the delivery of the new solution. So they will become part of this. So with this, I am done with my talk. Just to quickly summarize, I start with the 3 challenges that we are facing today, which is the business complexity. which is making sure that we are building solutions fit for purpose, fit for people, working in the business processes, and then the need to deliver value, deliver it quickly. Then we looked at the 3 steps process that we go through today, which is the ideation, the build, and the embedding and the business transformation. And here, if there's one key takeaway, I think it was clear, but just to stress on it again, you need to bring the business along with you. Without the business, your chances of success are much, much lower than with the business. And then we looked into the future where we are looking at relying on large language models and technologies, AI technologies, to make things even faster, even more efficient. With this, I'm done. Thank you very much for your attention.
Test. Can you hear me? Oh, perfect. So we have some 5 minutes for some Q&A. We have some roaming microphones going around. So who has some questions for our speaker? Yeah, the gentleman just in the front here.
Hello. Yeah, Dennis Chowdhury, Data Consulting Director at Artifact. I just wondered, because the process that you showed, it seems very applicable to a lot of use cases. Do you already have any feeling for, like, specifically what is different in the context of using AI or using like modern technologies, like in planning things or in setting up project structures, or basically, yeah, is there anything that already jumps out that you see different here?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Like I was describing, we will be looking at leveraging the model that we are building to identify things which we can speed up, like the ideation step, like that I was describing. During the build phase, we can also get ideas from the model, what's the best approach, configurations. I think another aspect is the cybersecurity aspect, because it's very, very time-consuming. It's very, very thorough and detailed process. So maybe there are ways how the large language model can help us make suggestions, how we configure firewalls, how do we make sure that things are safe, and so on. So there's, I think the great thing about this technology is it can do a lot for you. You just need to find the areas which deliver the value the fastest, and then focus on these areas, start with these. But I'm sure this will be changing very rapidly, very, very soon. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, yes. We have a microphone coming for you.
Hi, Mario Noble from Rockwell Automation. Do you have anything specific regarding any approaches for the industrial space, given that you're from Aramco?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work in, for example, a kind of classic area almost today is developing soft sensors in production plants. So wherever you have typically you will have a lot of sensors in a production plant that gives you a lot of data, but there will be things that you cannot measure automatically, where you still today you need to take lab samples, you need to run to the lab, you need to wait for the results. So for this, it's quite straightforward to use predictive modeling to predict these kind of values on top of what we are measuring automatically. So this would be a classic example. Another big area for us is safety and safety of our production areas and production plants. So there's a lot of applications for computer vision, monitoring workers, making sure that they are not violating safety measures and safety regulations, that they are not going into areas where they are not supposed to be going, and so on. So this would be 2 kind of big areas that we are looking into.
A couple more questions. We have 2 more minutes. Yes, the gentleman over there.
Your point was you should connect with the business and to make sure that you get the proper use cases done. So what's your view around centralizing or decentralizing the data function? Because on the one hand, it makes sense to do a lot with the users, right? Mm-hmm. But there's all these privacy and this technology concerns. So what's your view around centralizing versus decentralizing?
Yeah, it's a great question, a question which we are battling almost every day. I think, I don't think that you can go in either of the extremes. You cannot release all the data and have everyone accessing all the data, which from a data scientist or technical point of view would be your heaven, would be a great position. And you can't, of course, go into an area where you completely restrict access to data because it's confidential and so on, because then you can't develop anything without data. So it's really finding the balance, the middle ground, where you can still develop. And we have processes in place where we can relatively quickly and easily request permissions to data, so we get access to the data, but we don't have, for example, a blanket permit to access all data. So I think for every organization, you need to find the sweet spot for you. Where is the right spot in terms of democratizing data versus restricting access to data?
Brilliant. Okay, Peter, thank you so much for your incredibly valuable contributions. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank our speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you.